One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. My name is Alex Mason and I am your host. Yes, thank you for joining me. This is the show where we're learning both the technical and non-technical aspects of investment banking so that you're prepared for your interviews and future career. And that's what we're doing. This show is dedicated to nothing but helping you get ready. And I'm just so excited. We're flying through these concepts and boy, I am learning so much. And I hope you're learning just as much, if not more, than I am. And we're talking about valuation right now. We're talking about multiples. We looked at some of the specific multiples that are the more common ones like EV to EBITDA, price to earnings, EV to EBIT, those kinds of things. But there's some more nuances when it comes to multiples. And I just want to briefly touch on the fact that there are these more specific multiples that you should know about. And I'm just going to give a few examples. There are more examples that I'm going to cover today, but just want you to be aware of them. So there are different industries that have different economic characteristics. And because of these differing economic characteristics, sometimes it's more appropriate to use some multiples than others. Now, I want to give an example from the energy industry. So think about oil and gas producers like your Exxon Mobils and your Chevrons of the world. What are they doing in their business model? Well, they sell oil and gas, right? But it's not just the stuff that's directly drilled from the ground. They have to refine it into different products. They're producing gasoline, they're producing jet fuel, they're producing all sorts of other oil-related products. And in order to do that, they have to go out and find these natural resources that are hidden in the ground somewhere beneath the Earth's crust or sometimes in the ocean and extract it. And that incurs huge expenses for these companies. They're called exploration expenses. And so when we're looking at the valuation of an energy company, we might use a ratio such as EV to EBITDA X, which is very similar to EV to EBITDA, except that X at the end stands for exploration expense. Because energy companies spend so much money exploring for these additional oil and gas reserves, we can add that back to help normalize the earnings numbers for those types of companies. So that's one example from the energy industry. I'll give you another example. This is from real estate, specifically REITs. And if you're unfamiliar with REITs, and that is spelled REITs, so REITs, which stands for a real estate investment trust. A real estate investment trust is a type of security that it trades kind of like a stock, but the underlying assets are all real estate related, either actual property or sometimes a mortgage loan. But REITs are focused on real estate. That's really what you need to know. And instead of using a typical ratio like a price to earnings ratio, we would use something like a price to FFO ratio. Now you may be asking, Alex, FFO, what does that mean? Well, I'm here to tell you. FFO stands for funds from operations, which is a different industry-specific term used in real estate. And it's more appropriate than just saying earnings, because for real estate, this funds from operations number accounts for adding back depreciation and subtracting the gains on sales of property. So imagine that you're the CEO of this real estate company and you have these REITs that are trading on the market that represent ownership pieces of your company. Well, you had to depreciate all of your real estate in your financial statements. And so if you were to just use net earnings, then it might distort the numbers significantly because of that depreciation expense, as well as if you sold some properties, you might have some gains that like made the numbers look better than they really were in certain years and worse than they really were in certain years if you counted for losses. So that's where this FFO, funds from operations term comes from. So price to funds from operations would be something you might use from a valuation perspective for a real estate company. And then I'll give you one more example. Let's look at something like a technology business, a SaaS business, which SaaS, SaaS, stands for software as a service. So you can think of these recurring revenue subscription type of tech companies. Like think about something like a Facebook, for example, or a TikTok. And TikTok, I mean, if you use TikTok, you're not paying anything to use it, right? You just create an account and watch videos. So the business is making money off of advertising. And what is the advertising revenue based off of? Well, the advertising revenue is based off of the total audience. The scalability of that audience is what powers TikTok economically, at least as of the time of this recording. That's the main monetization that they have. So you wouldn't really be able to use something like an EV to EBITDA necessarily. You might use something like EV to subscribers or EV to daily active users, because those subscribers or those daily active users gives you a clearer picture of what kind of yardstick you can measure with that business. If you're not generating earnings yet, for example, or even if you are generating earnings, you also may want to see how things play out on a revenue, on a subscriber basis or on a per person basis. So that's another type of example. So notice here that we're using, for all of these metrics, enterprise value instead of equity value. Why are we doing that? Well, generally, the profit subscriber metric is applicable to all investors, not just equity investors. So we're using EV. So EV to subscribers is more appropriate than, say, equity value to subscribers. Okay, that's what we got for you today. My name is Alex Mason. I'm the host of Investment Banking Insights. I hope you enjoyed this and learned a little bit more about different types of metrics, different types of multiples that you may not be aware of. And so that should give you a sense of how to value businesses using just a simple numerator denominator structure with either enterprise value or equity value on top, and then some kind of profitability metric or user level metric at the bottom. Okay, next time we're going to be talking about LBOs and DCFs a little bit, just touching on it a little bit in the context of valuation. So join me next time for that. My name is Alex Mason, and I'll see you next time.